So, I mean, I'd rather have a team that is willing to make plays and like um, win the game rather than a team that just sits back and slowly loses, like does nothing. So, I definitely think it's good and it's growing us in the right direction. But like, I guess since it's like the early season, we are like throwing games because of it. But I don't think it's gonna be something that's gonna hinder us like weeks down the line.
This is Azento from Esports Heaven, and I have here with me Deftly from Evil Geniuses. Admittedly, disappointingly, after a loss against Dignitas, it kind of felt like, at least from what I saw with you playing the game, was that it just seemed like you didn't get to play the game. like which is the classic thing with ADCs, I guess. If things don't go too well in the early game, you had the early mishap at near rates and the action in the top lane mostly, and then of course the mid lane antics. So, what do you think about this game, just in general, from your perspective, from your position, let's say?
I'd say like not even this game, but this week in general, I think our team struggled with consistency. I feel like our level of play in the Immortals game and also today's game was just unacceptable. And for example, our game against C9, I felt like everyone had like a chip on their shoulder, playing really hard, and we were playing to a higher level than we were in the Immortals and big games. I think like a lot of the mistakes we made are kind of like uncharacteristic and also unacceptable, sloppy performances just from the whole
Mm,
team. So we're definitely going to be looking at that going into next week and trying to like hammer down upon that so that we can be that consistent
hmm
team that we want to be. Um, as for today, like I think because of the level one shenanigans on top side, their bot lane walked up as well, so our jungler fell behind, but
hmm
that made bot lane for us be more advantageous.
Yeah.
I think we could have been better about snowballing and like playing through bottom, and I think we just made some like honestly, I felt like the game was won until we died all at their rates
hmm
as Baron spawned. So yeah, I mean, there needs to be more communication, I think, and also just people listening to each other, and hopefully we're better for next week.
So you have a crazy ass mid laner with Jizuke. You have a pretty crazy support with Ignar, and then Sven Skaren can get a little buck wild too occasionally. So what are your thoughts, I guess, on just the overall aggressive play style that seems to be exerted from a lot of your other teammates, and just how it overall interacts with the entire team dynamic?
Well, I definitely don't look down upon like playing aggressive or making crazy plays. Like you win some, you lose some.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're like flips, but I think we here try to take like good flips, odds that are like 70-30, 80-20, 60-40 even, rather
Mm-hmm.
than just taking 50-50s or like low percentage plays. And as long as like everyone on the team thought like, oh, we saw the angle, then like we're all like happy about it. Like sure you can fuck up, but that's just how the game is, you know? Um, so I mean, I'd rather have a team that is willing to make plays and like um win the game rather than a team that just sits back and slowly loses, like does nothing. So I definitely think it's good and it's growing us in the right direction. But like I guess since it's like the early season, we are like throwing games because of it. But I don't think it's gonna be something that's gonna hinder us like weeks down the line.
I always say that I would rather have someone be aggressive to where then I could scale them back, rather than have someone that is passive that I try and scale to be more aggressive. At least that's my general philosophy. But do you feel personally like you need to play more conservative given how aggressive your teammates play?
I'd say for AD carries in general, especially right now, it's like you want to be like the sort of centerpiece to your team. You want to be in all the plays that will like profit for you, and you want to like always be alive, always be there, and always be like dealing damage. So I want to chime in on when I can be a part of the good plays, and I want to be able to call off the bad ones. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like making good decisions for our team. Um, but in general, yeah, especially in bottom, I think on this team we try to be really stable because our solo laners are so crazy, and we're always looking for like top dives and stuff like that. We're just thinking about what's the best thing we can do for bottom.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about your team comp this game. For those that forgot, or the listeners that forgot, it was Gnar, Lilia, Lucian, Ezreal, and Seraphine. So with that said, do you think there were problems with the draft? Because at least from my perspective, the engageability looks very limited, along with playing from behind looks very difficult to execute with this composition. So just what are your thoughts about the composition?
Well, I think this composition is definitely one that strives when like ahead, and it's really hard to execute when behind, just because you lack a lot of CC, you lack like not that much range. So it's like especially important we snowball the game hard in the early game and have the enemy team sort of like play into us. Like we
Mm-hmm.
force them to walk into our zones and everything, our vision, and it'll be really hard for them to play. But since we threw away our lead, it just felt like the game became like really, really hard after that.
Mm-hmm. So overall, I guess, what are your hopes for this team going forward in terms of your play style? Is it maybe kind of toning back the aggression? Maybe it's just developing better communication so that people can follow up on aggressive plays, or maybe it's fixing some mid-game mistakes. Like what is your overall idea and how you want the team to move forward?
I think right now the team has a very, very high ceiling, and but at the same time we have a really low floor, I would say, with just like not listening to each other or just making like blunders just in the mid game that like makes the game like unplayable almost. But I think the most important thing going into future weeks for us that I think we need to be working on is consistency. Like we've shown we can beat the best teams in the league, but at the same time we're dropping games to teams that we don't think are the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hopefully we can find that consistency and continue to start like be one of the best teams in North America.
All right. Well, you guys did provide a very entertaining game to say the least. So I look forward to your games next week as well too. This has been Azento from Esports Heaven and Deftly from Evil Geniuses. Thank you very much.
Thank you.